Hi, I'm Ian Whittaker, City Analyst and host of the JCDecaux Digital Changemakers podcast. The podcast that showcases industry research and insights to inspire senior marketers to push the boundaries on their marketing strategies and become change agents in their organisation. When we started out this podcast, our mission was to bring you research and insights, not simply for the day-to-day operating insights, but insights that align strongly with the boardroom agenda, so that marketers can speak the language of the CFO and pioneer real and impactful change. Without question, diversity, equity and inclusion is on every brand's agenda, but is progress fast enough? And while there is collective agreement on the moral reason to invest in DE&I, are we as well informed on the economic reason? Introducing economic and financial persuasion will give any topic more power to stand up in the boardroom, and DE&I doesn't need to be the exception. I recently came across the Black Pound report. Did you know that the annual disposable income of the multi-ethnic consumer is £4.5 billion? This makes it one of the most exciting and untapped audiences out there, and I want to hear more from the experts in this area. Who better to discuss this topic with me than today's guest, Lydia Amoah, author of the Black Pound report and CEO of Backlight, the culture change agency. We'll be discussing how diversity is a new currency for brands to make lasting change happen. Lydia is recognised as one of Britain's leading authorities on diversity, equity and inclusion, and we are delighted to be covering this incredibly important topic with such an expert. Let's explore how this can relate to your brand today. Lydia, thanks very much for coming along. It's great to have you, and thanks for taking the time. Backlight, the Black Pound report. So you've done so much with it. It's absolutely amazing product. A lot of people would have heard about it, but I'm sure out there will be some people who don't know about it. So can you just give some background, an explanation of how it came about, of what it covers, and then also as well just talk about some of the features within it.
Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Ian. Thank you so much for inviting me. The reason Backlight was set up, we actually did rebrand in lockdown, because this was a time when everybody's at home. This incident happened with a lockdown, and then on top of that, we had on our screens George Floyd. And, I just had to stop, like everybody did, look at what difference, what was important to me, the people that I serve, and the businesses that I represent. And I knew it's always been about, let's make sure that there's more inclusion in businesses to give everybody a chance to rise up through the ranks. But the situation with George Floyd, in a way, as disastrous as it was, I'm thinking of my words very carefully, but it gave me some form of permission to take my efforts our efforts to the next level. So we've always been, as a business, involved in coaching, business coaching and strategy, training and workshops to help people understand and learn about diversity. But years ago, back in 2017, I embarked upon the Black Pound report, and it was a piece of research that I self-funded, and we explored and looked into the spending power of Black, Asian and multi-ethnic people as individuals in the United Kingdom. The reason why I did that very report was something that happened over 20 odd years ago when my best friend, she's Irish, we've grown up, known each other since we were 8 years old, just went for a normal shopping experience. I asked the shop assistant, okay, look, my friend's just bought some makeup, I would like to see what choices there are for me. And at that point she'd said, I'm sorry madam, we only stock colours for normal skin tones. And I just thought, what? Wow. And it really marked me. And I just thought, I cannot believe I've been told that my skin isn't a normal colour, and number two, that there's nothing for me. And it's true, there was hardly any choice. And I said to my friend, I don't know, but I have to do something about this. I don't know what is going to be, but I knew I put a stake. It was something that went through me intrinsically, and I knew that from that day, I became obsessed with consumerism, really.
Yeah.
So can I turn around and say, I'm actually glad that happened to me. It wasn't great that it happened to me, but it actually anchored my vision for the change that's now happening today. So you can turn things around. And I'm not saying I wish that for anybody that's listening. I'm not saying that has to happen to you. But for me, I'm personally glad for someone like me, because I don't put up with stuff. I'll do something about something. So that situation planted a seed in me to make a change. So then came the Black Pound Report, which is a study into consumers, their behaviours, their needs, their wants, their desires, and also, most importantly, to talk about the areas that are untapped and overseen and underestimated. So really, that's where the Black Pound Report began, from, a bit of a horrible situation, and then also working in businesses myself as a coach, or being a freelancer and working for other businesses. I just saw some patterns along the way that I never really did see anybody that looked like me in a boardroom. Your toenail got close to the boardroom, essentially, if you're passing on information, but to be in there and actually inform decision making, it does happen, but very rare. It was happening very rarely for me at that time, for people that represented and looked like me. And so that was really a bit of the background into the business. It's called Backlight for a reason. We're here to shed a light on situations that need changing.
Actually, what you just said, there were so many things that could actually delve into that. From your anecdote, just in terms of the sort of the moral side of things. And the moral side is important, but what I'd like to focus on, if it's okay, it's actually the economic side.
Oh, yeah.
Because from my side of things, I think that gets of that message doesn't clearly come across.
No.
From in terms of the understanding of the advertising market. And, when I look at the stats, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it sort of, in terms of the market, is £62.5 billion.
Yes, that's
altogether.
right.
That's a huge amount of spend altogether.
Yeah, that figure to £62.5 billion is in investment. So that's the Black, Asian, and multi-ethnics and mixed heritage, individual as a consumer in the United Kingdom, how much there is in savings and investments. So 62.5 billion, and then per month that equates to, I think, something like £268 million a month is put into pensions actually every month. So I think it's a good point that you put across. We definitely always hear the moral objective. Of course, it is a moral objective. However, I know that when it comes to decision making, a business is about business. And obviously business is about the individuals that work within that business. But also, when you're thinking about your audience, you need to know, okay, so for us to advertise to the audience, do they have to spend? Can they actually afford this product? Will they invest in this particular service, in this product, so on and so forth? So that's why I'm actually happy that we've got the opportunity to talk about the economical side of it, which is why was my vision for the Black Pound Report was, I think I need to explain to these businesses that what they're missing out on. In the sense of expend and also habits and behaviours, because when they have that understanding, they can then, Ian, start to create the right types of products. Deliver the right type of service, understand a bit more about that individual. Who are they? Who's this person, walking into our store or purchasing one of our products online, offline? You need to have clear information about who you're communicating with. And so there's been a massive untapped oversight opportunity. So yes, let's talk figures. Figures is a good place for us to start.
And look, it's only a market that's going to grow. If you take the demographic profile of the country and where things are going, those numbers are only going to get more and more. There's one thing, and again, this is just from an outside sort of impression. Good. So it doesn't necessarily mean sort of it's right. It might be wrong. I think the impression I get from a lot of advertisers in terms of how sort of people view the market is that actually when they look at the market, they tend to associate in terms of the demographics by wealth. They tend to have, let's say, a stereotypical view that maybe these consumers are not as wealthy you know, as the average of the population and so forth.
Yeah.
And I mean, just from personal experience and you look around, sort of, you know, that's very much not the case. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think that's a fair comment? That essentially,
I think it's a fair comment because I won't say who, but an agency contacted me the other day wanting access to the data, and of course I'm inquiring. You know, what we use the data for?
Yeah.
What type of challenges do you come up with in your business? And there was a car manufacturer that said they said directly, felt very confident to say to that organisation, this particular audience, I just don't think they have any money to invest. They're not right for our brand. So that's what they said.
Yeah.
And that's why they came to us. Now, that can be the case where there's a misunderstanding, like you said, about wealth, because if you're creating a product, say for example, we're talking about the luxury market, okay? So that's going to be a higher penetration of investment and income to afford that particular service or brand. Now, at the marketeer level or in a boardroom level, decision-making level, who's ever designing this, you know, creative innovation stage, if they haven't got knowledge and expertise on the audience, on the multicultural, Black, Asian and mixed heritage audience, and I don't know anything about them, their earning capacity or how they spend, where they spend, what they like, what they dislike, they will not include them. But that's terrible because, you know, if you think about the disposable income of, this was when it was 18, let's say talk about 18% of the population this is after this, you know, everything you've paid for is 4.5 billion. 4.5 billion, let's say it was 18% of the population in the United Kingdom. And then after that, you think about what are the things where the money's going, you know, what products are they buying, what brands are they investing in? That is a lot of spend. I've already said to you that, for example, beauty, where it began with me. Yeah. £230 million a month is spent on health and beauty. That is a lot of money. You know, recently, I know I can actually mention this, Tom Ford, through one of the agencies, they used our data to create a product and a service that was aimed at, say, the multi-ethnic consumer. I'll say the word multi-ethnic because that does include Black, Asian and mixed heritage moving forward. So with the multi-ethnic consumer, Tom Ford accessed the data so they could actually create a product and service, because I'm not too sure if it's much about it. It could have obviously involved the ingredients, like what's in that brand, making sure that it's nothing that's going to have a bad effect on the multi-ethnic consumer. But not only that, and how do you communicate to make sure it's really authentic and not stereotypical? Because that's what can happen. We've seen plenty of adverts where you know that conversation was not at R&D level, research and development level.
Right. Okay.
It wasn't.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because if it was, that product would not have left the shop floor. It would have not left the creative floor. We're talking about products and service that's going to go out to the public. So you have to have a bit more of a microscopic view at that decision before it goes out. Yeah. You know, when those decisions stop brands penetrating and getting economic, you know, basically impacting their bottom line, you know, we have an audience. We know about the moral objective. We want to see more inclusion, of course. We want to see better opportunities. We want to see social economic advancement, yes. But also, what we do need to educate brands and advertisers is that this audience does have money to spend. They want to buy products. They want to buy services, access services. Access. And the money is there. And I know we're entering into a time where we're looking at the economy, we're looking at spending. We will see people maybe, you know, being a bit more conscious about where they're spending. But just because the economy is changing, people will still spend. Yeah. And that's not changing.
No, absolutely. And there's a couple of things I actually want to sort of come back on, and just on what you said. I'm going to start off with businesses at the end of the day want to make money. Of course. From what you've just said, I think one of the sort of one of the major issues, and you see it also as well, I think, with sort of elements of class here as well, is that the people who, as it were, make the decisions it's not as though it's a deliberate sort of ignoring the issue. Mm-hmm. It's more that they just don't know. Oh, yeah. And it doesn't really come into their heads.
Thinking. Into their thinking.
Exactly. And you know, for organisations, how do you help organisations, actually businesses, say, well, look, this is, you do realise in terms of the size of the market, and you do realise in terms of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Sort of, do you find sort of how are businesses when you actually give that message to them?
Yeah, they're amazed.
Yeah.
I can't mention the brand. We did speak about it earlier, but it's a household name. Let's put it that way. Okay. And we had a conversation. And what I loved is actually the brands are now coming directly to Backlight.
Right, okay.
So, you know, I know that a lot in history tells the story that they work with agencies, but some of the brands are approaching Backlight directly. And because we build good relationships, with good relationships, you can just put your shoulders back and ask a question. Yeah. Which is that space is important, where somebody can ask a question. And I said, look, tell me, what is it that you want? And they said, you know, we understand, we've heard about the Black Pound report, we've seen, you know, all the information that's out there, but we still need to understand more. And I said, but ultimately, what do you want? We want to access this consumer and, of course, give them particular service, but we actually want to impact our bottom line. Yeah. I said, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I prefer that. Be honest with me, because in doing that, when a business is about business, it's not charity. You know, the work that I do is not charitable business. It's economic empowerment for society. Yeah. So that's why I will never give up on this, because it's an opportunity to make a difference to the society that we live in. You know, because when the economy is growing, the people do well, hopefully. So this brand wanted to know and understand, what is the spending power of the multi-ethnic consumer? How do we speak to them? Because we're a little bit nervous. We don't want to make the wrong decision. And I just said, we've made a good start by coming here, because we won't steer you wrong, you know, and we can have that honest conversation. I can understand what your aims and objectives are. I can actually spot when you're about to make a huge, massive mistake. But most importantly, I love those opportunities, because it gives me the opportunity to speak directly to the brand at R&D level about, when you're creating this product, have you asked this question? Yeah. Have you thought about the multi-ethnic consumer, or are you thinking about the general population? Yeah. Because that is the problem. Things are just happening really fast. So decision makers will just maybe make a big decision based on the general population. So, you know, going back to your question when you said, look, you know, is it an oversight? Are they thinking? What is it? And quite honestly, it's such a nuanced question, in a sense, because I'm not inside someone's head, but I can only speak about the results that I see and from the conversations, Ian, that we have, or the feedback we get from brands, or you know, the people out there, consumers who contact me at us Backlight every day of the week to let us know about their experiences, which is great, because we have hot off the press data and understanding of what's happening. But what needs to happen more is the decision makers in brands, number one, do need to understand that this is a market that's still untapped in 2023. Yeah. They do need to understand that, not to feel afraid, just come forward. You know, ask the right questions, think about it, or just ask the same questions that you will put together when attracting or communicating to the general population. Put those very same questions and look into the multi-ethnic consumer, because I could give you a whole load of amazing statistics. I mean, when I found them, Ian, I was like, wow. You know, when I had the 230 million, I said, is that a year? They said, no, that is a month. That is how much is being spent a month just on health and beauty. And then we think about travel, and then we think about the media consumption, where spend is going there, you know, and everything like that. But the financial statistics that we found, I thought were incredible. I'm going to stop here because there's so much. No.
Look, this is absolutely great. But I mean, it's an interesting point. It comes back to what you said before about the sort of the luxury car manufacturers said they didn't think the money was in the market.
Yes, correct.
And so forth. And usually, going back to his point about decision makers, often those decision makers are further up the chain. They're actually in the boardroom.
Yeah.
And from what you said, it sort of goes back to something we've just discussed before. I think, you would hope, most companies understand in terms of the moral aspect.
Yeah.
Where essentially the education perhaps hasn't gone through is in the economic sort of aspect. And I think, what would be the message that you would give to boards, CEOs, CFOs, when they're thinking about sort of what do you think they need to do when it comes to the potential of this market?
Wow, that is such a... My brain goes into a spider. My brain goes into a spider map when you ask those questions. Number one, I'm thinking, from relationship, everything comes in, and trust is every year is the year of trust. But the decision makers need to have, when I say need, I would like them to have a desire to be interested in this audience for their business and to see the benefits that happen when they do. Okay, so I'll give one story which will add to this. If you think about Rihanna and Louis Vuitton, not many people, I think maybe more people know now, but in the beginning, when the Fenty beauty brand came into the market, not everybody realised that Louis Vuitton were behind that. They thought it was mainly Rihanna, but it's a 50% share in the business. But the turnover, I'm telling you, the disposable income, they made 4.5 billion in the first year. Just upon that. Okay, do you see?
Which is pretty incredible.
It is incredible, and it's growing year upon year, Ian. It's not decreasing. Whatever the market's saying, it's not decreasing. That's an example. And also Louis Vuitton recently employed Pharrell, into their menswear. So why do they do that? It's because they understand, number one, appointing him, I'm interested.
Yeah.
I'm interested. So many other people of black and brown people across the world interested in that decision. Pharrell's got a big responsibility there. However, it puts us more towards that brand.
Yeah.
And we know that, okay, so he's there, they've partnered with Rihanna. There was a gentleman that's recently passed away. His name's just forgotten me, but they've got history.
Yeah.
And they know that it's not just been a fly-by-night decision. There's been research, there's been relationship. So what I would say to them is look at some of the brands and the businesses that have taken this direction and look at the results because results speak louder than words.
Yeah.
And if you want to, any business out there that wants to impact their bottom line, it's imperative that you look at this growing population audience, because within Europe, within the United Kingdom, within the States, this is where the opportunity, and actually around the world, but the areas that the countries I've just mentioned, are major opportunities for growth. To overlook this audience will be at the detriment of that business because maybe they don't see that now, but later on they will be left behind. Yeah. They will be left behind ultimately. And of course they will always have their audience. That's probably not going to go. But then the consumer these days, they're very, from all backgrounds, actually a lot more conscious. They're a lot more informed. They want to make sure that, and they're aware that every decision that they make is an investment. From where you buy your coffee to where you buy your clothes, whatever, for whoever you're deciding to bank with, everything is an investment choice. Everything. It's not just a spend, because advertising will take you to spend, but it's actually, when you understand that what your decision you're making is an investment, you'll make wiser decisions. But with the brands, my big dream was I would love to have a conversation with most of them, have round tables with them, build conversations with them, give them the consultations, and put them in a space where, it's a safe space to ask me any question that they like, or even talk to me about their limiting viewpoints on how they see this audience, and then we can work together collaboratively. It's not in a dictation.
Yeah.
It's about let's work together collaboratively, because I really want to create more economic empowerment and advancement for us all, because I want to make it a win-win.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we've always had this issue in society of, the rich getting richer and maybe the poor getting poorer, and then we've got this middle class element and so on and so forth. But I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe in what I was doing. And sometimes I just think, it's taking too long, but it doesn't mean we'll give up. And I'm beginning to see that brands are changing, but there still needs to be more movement. And you said about the boardroom, Ian. In the boardroom, we need to have people that look like me, who are black or brown, different intersectionalities, not a straight vision of, it has to be a female at this particular age or so on and so forth. You have to be very open about who's coming with that knowledge and expertise. They may not be the package that you expect them to expect them to be. I have been in spaces when speaking about the Black Pound report, and as I'm speaking to you, you can hear me, understand me clearly. Yeah. Right. And I would say something, and I'd see somebody look at me and say, she's speaking a different language or something. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you. And my team member Tim, who helped me, he likes to call himself the confident gay man. White confident gay man, my ally, supports me. Yeah. And I'd WhatsApp him and say, Tim, say exactly what I've just said, but say this, and let's just see the reaction. Yeah. And they'll completely understand what Tim was saying. Different. So you could call that a number of different things, but what I would say is sometimes people are only used to communicate with the people they're used to seeing. Yeah. So
Look, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that goes in so many different ways as well. It's always remember, and this is where I think is important for advertisers as well, Thinkbox, which is the TV industry, they did a report last November that looked at the media habits of people who work in the media industry against the general population. It's like chalk and cheese. Yeah, and the whole thing. And the simple fact, and I've seen this before, and it's sort of investors are also the same as well. You tend to think that everyone is like you, right? That everyone has got the same habits as you, and everyone behaves like you. And that is simply not the case on things. But that is the natural inclination. And again, it's not necessarily it's not coming from a malign standpoint. It's just coming from, I think a lot of people just take shortcuts in terms of their views of the world. Yeah. And very much sort of say, everyone must think the same way that I do. Everyone must be like me as well. And that's the case. Agree. And it's an important point about the sort of boards in terms of the need to actually get away from that one size fits all.
You have to get away from that one size fits all, and you have to have diversity in that boardroom. I mean, personally, it's boring without it, personally, And the fact is, like you say, not everybody's going to agree, and so the space needs to be set up for a different way of thinking. Diversity of thought is allowed to enter the boardroom, not just by thoughts, but by people actually in that space. And of course, everything, the society is fast, decisions, so on. I get that. However, there's a time you actually do need to pace yourself, especially when you're about to invest your direction into this audience. And I know there's fear of, will we make a return? Yeah. Will we make a return on our investment if we give our advertising spends to these advertising agencies, and these advertising agencies will then distribute where they will spend? Yeah. Which newspaper will they spend with, which radio station, which billboard will they be on? All of that is disseminated that particular way. For example, if you think about billboards, the majority of them are in English, aren't they? Yeah. I mean, I think how many dialects, I think the number is increasing, the number, 52 dialects plus are spoken in the United Kingdom, different languages and so on and so forth. You just have to walk along the high street just to see the eclectic mix that we have, especially when you're in London. But it is like that in Bristol, Manchester, Birmingham, and even further out to the rural places. But the concentrated cities that I've spoken about, wouldn't it be amazing if you just saw a billboard outside, imagine, and it had different languages on there. You'd be speaking, and straight away you just see yourself in it, because who wants to be alienated from an experience? Economics, if you strip it back down to it's the most simplistic, it's, what inspired me to wear this bright shirt, this shirt that I've got on today?
Yeah.
What feeling did I want when I bought it? Was I buying it because I needed it? Was it what emotion was it speaking to me? And you have to access your consumers' emotions and feelings, and you want them to feel like, I need that product, I need that service, and it's going to benefit my life. So the worst thing is to go into experience and feel like you're not welcome, or your heart, that you've got all this money that you want to spend. You've worked really hard and you want to use it.
But not that nobody wants it.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what I mean, in terms of the whole.
Yeah. I can't get it. For me, my brain just wakes up every morning and says, oh, wow, I'm having this conversation about an audience that have got money and they want a service.
As I said, it's funny. I mean, there's without going into the huge details of it. I mean, I sit on the board of an organisation. I mean, it's community focused.
Yeah.
And again, we deal with it's a community group, and it deals with sort of inner London, which has got a very multi-ethnic population. But I remember asking, well, do we actually do any sort of materials in other languages?
Yeah.
And again, the answer was no. And again, that wasn't coming from a point of view. It's saying the same message again.
Okay.
It's not coming from it's a point of education, I think.
Okay.
That people just don't get in terms of how it's perceived.
Yes.
The potential monetary opportunity that is very much there on things. And there's also as well, I mean, there's one, touched also as well, another point. What's the feedback that you actually get from consumers when they're, what in terms of the sort of people who come to you?
Yeah.
How do they feel when they see adverts? What do they tell you about what they'd like to see?
Okay, yeah, of course. That's a really good question. You said so many things. Okay, well, I'm going to keep it focused.
Yeah.
So with regards, can I just quickly go back to your point? You mentioned that community organisation that you're working with. The question might not be asked. Again, so I think, were you on a board there, did you say?
Yeah.
So on the board, I don't know how many people were on that board, but did anybody look like me that was on that board?
Anyone look like you? No.
Okay. So it's just understandable. Imagine I've got a company and everyone in the company is from Afro-Caribbean background and we're all sitting there creating a product and service. And we want it to go to penetrate all the market.
Yeah.
But everybody in that room is from, like I said, from Black heritage. Then we're all going to have blind spots, without a doubt.
Yeah.
We will have blind spots.
Yeah.
Each and every one of us has. That's why, and like you said, we've got this million-year-old brain, or however many years this brain is. It goes straight to result.
Yeah,
it's channel vision. But at the same time, that is why when we have diversity around us, it challenges the way we think. And straight away, I say, Ian, have you thought of this? Oh my gosh, no, I didn't know. It wasn't even. My gosh, it wasn't even. I wasn't even trying to exclude or anything. I just literally didn't think. I just thinking about what I know, my reflection. Decision. That's often what's happening daily. Yeah,
I totally agree with that.
So that's why actually we're thinking, what is the solution? Okay, because we can talk about problems all day long. What's the solution? The solution is that we do, businesses like mine, like Backlight, we do need to be able to have these wonderful conversations with these brands, with the agencies, to let them know about this, the opportunity. And it's not just a one-time conversation, Ian, because it has to happen consistently, because we will forget and be on to the next thing, because there's so much to be getting on with, you know? For the person that feels isolated or excluded from that, from the service, from the economic empowerment or spend, that's a different story, because it's on their mind every single day, but it might not be on the mind of the person that's in the boardroom forming decisions and creating strategies for the business every day. But with regards to the daily emails that I get, for example, a brand contacted me the other day and they said to me, we really want to get onto I can say it actually, get on to say Tesco's supply chain. They said, we're a black-owned business and we want to get onto the supply chain and we're not being given the opportunities. And their particular feedback was, which can be an issue, is that some of the businesses that provide, say, products and services for, say, multi-ethnic consumers, maybe from their background, may not be from black origin, but they're getting the opportunity. This is why we need diverse supply chains, to ensure that everybody has an opportunity. Because I'm not against support, because that's what we need. Okay, and obviously I want to see a black-owned business, an Asian-owned business, all multicultural businesses have an opportunity to be on the supply chain. So therefore, it goes back into the community. That's really important. So a typical consumers will say to me, I can believe it. I spoke to a Gen Z. I feel like Gen Z, label them Gen Z. But when she spoke to me about some of the challenges that she was facing, it was similar to what I said, I don't expect you to be going through this because this is what I experienced 20-something years ago. I'm hoping for a change for you. They said, yeah, there is change, but we still have to deal with this situation. But I think what the biggest thing is, I would say that consumers come to me about is, number one, they even get surprised how much they spend. They know they spend a lot, but to actually have a report that actually is done all the work. We worked with Opinion, a respected research agency, to work alongside us. That makes a difference because when I first did the report, I know ear on the ground, some people would say, can we really trust it though? Okay. But it was really great working, if I'm okay to mention, the people that supported us. Worked with News, Times. I worked with Channel 4, IPA, Institute of Practitioners of Advertising. I wanted to consult everything to make sure that it was really understood, to put so much work. Such a huge team. It was a huge team. Over 20 of us at one point creating the Black Pattern Report. It was It wasn't a small project. I suppose for me, I thought that was quite a big team to be on one research project. But research. So consumers get excited by the spend, and it gives them a certain air of confidence to think about. Right, actually, I am an investor. I am an investor, right? I'm going to be thinking really carefully about how I spend and who I spend with, because if they're not speaking to me, they're not getting my money. Simple as that, And then that is what makes brands step forward to go, actually, we're missing out.
We need to spend.
Yeah.
Do
you see what I mean?
And it all comes down to this.
Yes, it does come down to this. Whether we like it or not, some people are really scared, actually, and I'm really glad we're talking about this today, to talk about the economic part. Because you can't talk about the moral part if we don't talk about the economic part. Because, say, for example, when we're talking about charity, it's a ethereal feeling and emotion. You're investing in a charity, and you might, if you see somebody, you might sign up for, see somebody canvassing, you might give them some money or sign up or so on and so forth. But diversity is not charity. You know,
and in a way, it is also as well. In a way, there's a question mark over. Quite frankly, is it patronising? And that's the other element of it as well. Is it essentially that if you think you as a business, if you're only doing it, if you're perceiving that essentially you are doing this because you think it is what should do, but you're not thinking about the economic side of things, then you're missing half the person, possibly more than half the person.
Completely. Because if you're just feeling just, and say just, I just don't put the word just in the word of, say, altruistic. It's a feeling, an emotion, feel good. But then comes back down to, as you were talking about, and we've been discussing, the everyday focus. Businesses need to survive. They need to grow. They need to have income to stay relevant, so they can serve whoever their consumer is. And so to miss out on the multi-ethnic consumer is I can't even find the word.
Economically, it doesn't make sense.
It does economically, thank you. It does not make sense. I mean, I could give you stats upon stats upon stats, and I know that data informs decisions. Data informs decisions. Informs, business making decisions where they can put a stake in the ground and go, we are going off in this direction. This is what we're going to do, and we're going to do everything to make sure that we get a return on our investment. You can expand the wealth. You can, sow into, say, the Voice newspaper, or all these different multicultural channels, as well as the mainstream ones.
Yeah.
You put some spend, and you will see a result. Because for me, if I see a consumer, when I see a consumer serving me, most of the time they're for life. If I think about growing up and where my mum used to shop, am I allowed just to mention that my mum used to shop in Sainsbury's, right? So where my mum used to shop in Sainsbury's, where do I shop now? Yeah, obviously I shop at other places, but it becomes like a family, because family brands up there, family brands, exactly. Yeah. Brands are passed down to the family. They have longevity. They have life. Obviously now Sainsbury's has changed a bit more now, and so is Tesco's. They've got the whole food aisles, blah blah blah. But then sometimes I walk down the whole food aisle, I'm thinking, why is this particular rice packet sitting on the whole food aisle when it can't? Why can't it just? Because we need more integration, But, whatever it is, as long as it's out there, that's the most important thing. But I'm always thinking about how can we improve things. Yeah. That's just my mind. How can we make it, even more, how can we make it better? So if I walk into a makeup store and I look at makeup and I see that sometimes it might be created, that you might see a particular product for black and brown people in one area, but why not? Yeah. Do you understand what I mean? But as long as it's there, but that's just me taking it to the next level. That that's me thinking way forward to brands who are not maybe just there yet. I mean, brands want to grow. I feel like I'm repeating myself. They need to make money. It's an opportunity, and then also they can also do the right thing morally as well. Yeah, because they can recruit diverse teams to broaden their thinking. To put a spotlight on maybe limited views or blind spots, which we all have. Illuminate it, bring light to it. Have this conversation. Now, I'm making it sound very simple, but this comes with working with organisations, agencies like ourselves, other agencies that are out there that work in data. They have to have the data, number one, and they have to have the confidence in the agency that they recruit to make sure that they're getting trusted information, because obviously they're making choices here, and I know they feel nervous, and I know there's a conversation of how do we move forward. How do we have this conversation? They feel awkward, Yeah.
No, look, I think that's... Yeah. I think, again, I think with a lot of this stuff, it's not necessarily coming from a line place. Yeah. It's coming from a place of... Ignorance is maybe too strong a word, or maybe it is.
Is it?
But, let's use that. Ignorance and awkwardness. Yeah. At the end of the day. Yeah. That people don't necessarily know how to approach the conversation and how to start it off as well. We've gone through a huge amount of topics, and it's been great. And I think, one of the key things we could take away from this is essentially there's a hell of a lot in terms of information and data that you have that I think for advertisers and agencies would be extremely useful in terms of this market. Yes. If you had to give 3 takeaways for of companies and up to the board level, what they should be doing in terms of the market, what would you say?
Wow, okay. Number 1, I would say, of course, access. Come and speak to us about the Black Power Report. We've done the work. It's the most comprehensive survey that's ever been done in the United Kingdom. And we will have honest, not fear-based, honest consultations and conversations with you to help you understand this audience. No question is a silly question. We want to have those relationships with you so we can help you create a service, and actually you will do it. In doing so, they will have the economic, they'll impact their bottom line, and also they can also work morally as well, because the two go hand in hand actually, when you do that. Then I would say that if they are, most of the time, which they do some form of study into the consumer, I would say ensure that when you're doing your research that you definitely explore ethnicity, but not ethnicity in its only right. Obviously, nuanced of all, the intersectionalities is really important, because, Ian, in research, ethnicity is not a prerequisite at all. And that's a big problem, which means that when decisions are being made, they're made on the preempt of the national, the national population. You know, and so basically have that cultural lens. I would say number 2 is probably have that cultural lens in everything that you do.
Okay.
From research and development stages, you know, and if you're not going to have all the answers internally. That's why collaboration is key. It's powerful.
Yeah.
You know, if when we're working with brands and working with agencies, or the opportunity to have this discussion today, people will listen and they go away and think a bit more differently. Hopefully they'll reach out to us, or even if they don't reach out to us, they'll begin to do something differently.
Yeah.
You know, Ian, in their business and what they're doing in a way that comes back to me already, and the people and the consumers and the individuals and employees that Backlight serves, because we are a multifaceted organisation. We serve the consumer, the employee, the brand and the agency, you know, so we need good relationships with all, because we can help them with that. And then my last thing I would say is really all what this conversation's been about is that if you want to increase your bottom line, what do you think you should be doing? You know, what do you think you need to be doing? And some people might think, oh gosh, actually, I think people have been thinking about this, but they've been scared to have this conversation about the bottom line. But it's not a sellout, you know. And I won't be for everybody, you know. But this conversation is for the majority. It's for growth. Who doesn't want to improve their bottom line? Yeah. Who doesn't? What business wakes up in the morning? What owner of a business wakes up to say, I don't care about, you know, how much money we make today? They do, you know. And with that decision comes with strategizing across a lot of different things, the people you employ, the research ideas, the data that you use, but just, you know, you see what I mean? But in the beginning, if you want to make a profit for your business, you cannot ignore diverse people. Yeah. Perfect. I think that is the perfect way to end. Okay. Yeah, making money. Yeah, making money. Making money. Yeah. I should be really attractive to all these businesses because I'm helping them make money. They should be banging my door down. Oh, Lydia, that is absolutely superb. Thanks very much. And thanks for taking the time as well. That's been amazing. Was great. Thank you, Ian. No, not at all. Thank you. Superb. Thank you. Thank you.
If there is anything you would like to ask us or hear more about, you can find us on LinkedIn. Or check out the Digital Changemakers Hub. We hope you enjoyed listening. And wherever you get your podcasts, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.